This one desperately needs cropping, and cropping is the first thing I recommend that anybody does, because it kind of affects all the rest of your work. You know, let's say I'm taking a picture that's got like a ton of noise in this corner of the picture, but I'm not going to use that part of the picture. I'm going to crop away to this other piece here. So why am I going to start making all these adjustments to parts of a photo that I'm not even going to use? So the first thing I recommend to do is crop. So right now we're in the develop module. A couple things before we start that I would recommend is you can expand these panes out, and I would recommend, if this one's not already all the way expanded, expand it all the way. And the reason for that is this whole sort of area, you're going to be working with left to right sliders. And so the wider that this is, the more of a granular adjustment you can make, right? Because if this is a short little slider, then any little movement you make is going to have like a large effect. So expand that out. The other thing I would recommend is use solo mode. What solo mode does is if you right click, you have this little checkbox here, solo mode. Anytime I click on one of these panels, it closes the other ones. So it kind of keeps things organized so that you're only focusing on one thing at a time, and especially if you're on a laptop or something, it's nice for saving space. Alright, so this little dotted line right here is the crop tool. I could also hit R, and if I click on that, I get this little crop rectangle above it. And there's lots of different overlays that it can do on the crop. I choose to do this this like aspect ratio overlay so that I can see, okay, if I crop this to a 1:1, what would it look like? If I cropped it 16:9, what would it look like? You can hit O, and it'll cycle through like different overlays. You know, here's your traditional rule of thirds, stuff like that. So very easy to use. You just grab like any of these little handles on the corners or on the sides. You can bring stuff in like that. If I wanted to turn it, you just kind of float it outside the edges of one of these handles, and you can just turn. And you'll notice that when I do this, I'm actually turning the photo, not the crop rectangle. All right. If I did this and I'm like, oh, I hate what I just did, I can hit reset over here. Resets it. Let's say I want to change the aspect ratio. I can pick up this little aspect ratio tool, and I could like draw, maybe I want to draw a rectangle this way, right? I'm going to do this in like portrait mode. But, you know, let's say I just don't, you know, I don't want to get locked in to this 4:3 that I'm at right now, or whatever it is. So you can choose different aspect ratios in here. So maybe I want to see what this looks like as a 16:9, or I want to see what it looks like as a 2:3 or whatever. Now you see this little lock over here. This is to this is if you don't want to have a standard ratio, right? You don't want it to lock the ratio. You want to be able to make this whatever you want. So now I can just, you know, I can make this like a bizarre shape if I wanted to, right? And then the last thing would be this little angle tool. I just want to set this back. Do that. I'll just say done. Okay, now I've got that. And again, like everything else, this is non-destructive. If I want to go back to the larger crop, I can hit R again, and all the information is still there. So don't worry about killing things, because you can't. Now I'll hit G. Brings me back to this, right? I'll hit D on that picture. So let's show you another thing you can do with crop. So this little angle tool, you got this slider. I don't really find this to be a very nice way to get a good adjustment on turning something. I would rather actually just turn it, you know, with the mouse. Or you can use this angle tool to make this a little more exaggerated. So you can see that. This little angle tool, and I can actually drag across something that's should be my horizon, and then it'll just straighten it out based on that, which is kind of cool.